Hello and welcome back to Pokemon TCG Center. In today's video, I'm gonna show you my Darkrai, Giratina and Salamence Tauros deck that I actually used to play at my local league, and I actually won that tournament. So I play against Greninja Break, I play against Mega Mewtwo, a couple other decks, and managed to get all victories. So the main strategy, of course, is to have as many energies as you can have in play and simply use your Darkrai Dark Pools, which will attack for 20 plus 20 more for each Darkness energy in play. So you can just one-hit knock out your opponent Pokemon, or to attack with, for example, some other tag Pokemons like a Giratina, for preventing your opponent from being able to use special energies and the stadium cards, for example attacking with Salamence and one hit knocking out for just 3 energies with the Beastly Fang your opponent EX Pokemons in play, and of course also with the Tauros GX to surprise our opponent from nowhere. So this is a pretty simple list that I used to play. So I was playing 2 copies of Darkrays, and with 2 copies of Darkrays I was also running 2 copies of Giratina with the Regention Pulse and with the Chaos Wheel. So 2 copies of Darkrai, 2 copies of Giratina. Then I decided to play also 2 copies of Yveltal with the Oblivion Wing. So Oblivion Wing Yveltal is a pretty good card because it can simply, if you start with it, you can attach Fighting Fury Belt and attack for 40 and get 1 extra energy from discard pile to one of your benched Pokemon. Later you can just simply swap with the Ninja Boy Yveltal into Salamence, into Tauros, or into Darkrai and simply attack from nowhere your opponent with tons of damage counters. Of course, I also played 2 copies of Shaymin EX for the setup, so no need more than 2 Shaymins, that's just my opinion. And of course, then I have 1 copy of Tauros GX with the Rage and the Mad Bull. So as I mentioned earlier, let's say Yveltal, basic baby Yveltal have 150 damage counters, I can just Ninja Boy into my Tauros with the Fighting Fury Belt, then I can go with the Rage for 180, and still I can use Mad Bull GX in the later, in late game, simply with Super Roading back my Tauros GX and repeat and playing again Ninja Boy into it. But also Mad Bull is so strong because even if you have 6 damage counters, you can go for like 180, 190. 7 damage counters can be 210, 220, depending if you have Fighting Fury Belt, so definitely Tauros was a big deal. Now also one Salamence with the Beastly Fang also helps a lot in this deck because Beastly Fang against EX decks can be just devastating. For example, against Mega Mewtwo who set up 5 EX Pokemon on the bench and don't have Pearl City, I can just Ninja Boy turn 2 into my Salamence, or I can simply, for example, play Max Elixir and Energy Attachment from my hand and simply Escape Rope or Olympia into my Salamence and just Beastly Fang for 1 hit knock against my opponent EX without too many problems. Also Hoopa EX with the Scondoring for the setup, so basically when I play Hoopa from my hand I can search my deck for 3 EXs, up to 3 EXs, show to my opponent and put them into my hand. So that was a Pokemon list, as you can see right here. 2 Darkrai and Giratina, 2 Yveltals, 2 Shaymins, 1 Tauros, 1 Salamence and 1 Hoopa, so 11 Pokemons in total. Supporter and item cards. Of course, 4 copies of Ultra Ball. Ultra Ball is the only search engine in this build, and you really need 4 copies of Ultra Balls. I really like the Ultra Ball because with the Ultra Ball we can simply discard some cards from our hand and simply search deck for any Pokemon put on the bench or in hand and simply set up with Shaymins for more cards. But also Ultra Ball can actually help me to discard some of the very important cards like an energy card, so I can just use Oblivion Wing for them. I can just throw up some supporter cards that I actually don't need at this moment but I can use later with the V-Seeker, so plenty of different options. Now 4 copies of Max Elixirs, of course. Look at the top 6 cards of your deck. If you find a basic energy, you can attach it to one of your Pokemon on the bench. Max Elixir, very powerful card. Simply, you can just get multiple energies in turn 1. Of course, 4 copies of V-Seeker, so I can simply grab a supporter card from my discard pile back into my hand. So far, you can see that this deck list is pretty simple. Then I'm running also 4 copies of Trainer's Mails for the best consistency, of course, because I'm running only 6 Drought supporters, and with the Trainer's Mails, I can always have couple other options, maybe to find the tool that I'm looking for, maybe to find Escape Rope, Max Elixir, a VD Seeker. So having 4 copies of Trainer's Mails in deck like this always makes a lot of sense. Alright, so speaking about tool cards, I decided to go with 2 copies of XP Share. Why XP Share? Because it's a pretty damn good card. It's a pretty damn good card with 2 copies of XP Share on your bench. Benched Pokemons. If one of your Darkrays actually gets knocked out, you can still keep 2 energies and just put them on random Pokemons on the bench. For example, on Hoopa with the XP Share can be broken simply because you can then just Ninja Boy into something like Darkrai or into something like I don't know, Tauros or Salamence, attach 1 more energy from my hand and be able to go for 1-hit knockout or something like that. So definitely XP Share makes a lot of sense, but of course, since this is a Darkrai based deck, it can actually help us to have more damage counters in the late game with them. Only 2 copies of Fighting Fury Belt. I decided to go with only 2 copies of Fighting Fury Belt. So with Fighting Fury Belt, I can have 40 extra HP and 10 extra damage counters to my opponent's Pokemons when I attack with the Pokemon that actually have Fighting Fury Belt. In my opinion, a very good card. Also, 2 copies of Escape Rope. I decided to go with 2 copies of Escape Rope simply because I can just force my opponent to promote something that I maybe cannot 1-hit knockout in the active position, or actually to help myself to escape from the position where I have something in the front that I can't simply switch. So Escape Rope, also a very good card in this build. 1 copy of Super Road. Probably you should ask yourself why. Because of course with the Super Road we can recycle energies back, but Super Road is here more important to recycle Tauros and Salamence, because if I can recycle Tauros and Salamence, I can just surprise my opponent again with the Ninja Boy into Tauros or Salamence back, just in case if I need them. But also, when I set up my Shamans, I can simply Pearl City, discard Shamans, Super Road for Shamans back into my deck, and then just Ultra Ball and set up again over and over. So I really like it. Only 1 Stadium card. So yeah, I was speaking about Pearl City and my battery just went off. So yeah, pretty much 1 Pearl City is a Stadium decision in this deck. Then moving on to the supporter line. Of course, running 4 copies of Professor Sycamore. That's pretty much all you really need to have. This card hand drops 7 new cards. No need to speak too much about that. So running 4 copies of Professor Sycamore. And for extra job support, I also have 2 copies of N. So you can pretty much play N, and both players will shuffle their hands into their decks and then draw the number of cards equal to the number of remaining prize cards left. So N is pretty cool, disruptive card, especially in the late game when your opponent have prize advantage. Of course, a Lysander. I only run 1 copy of Lysander. So with a Lysander, I can simply switch one of my opponent's benched Pokemons with his or her active Pokemon. Of course, 1 copy of Hex Maniac. So with the Hex Maniac, I can simply shut down Greninja Break's abilities. I can shut down any other ability, but mostly to prevent those Greninja Breaks from being able to throw those John Water Shurikens, because I didn't play, as you can see in this list, Giratina with that ability that can actually prevent Greninja from doing that, because unfortunately at this moment I don't own this card. Ninja Boy, pretty cool card. Choose one of your basic Pokemons in play, then search your deck for a basic Pokemon and switch it with that Pokemon. Any attached cards, damage counter, special conditions, turns in play, and any other effects will stay on that new Pokemon. So yeah, pretty much with the Ninja Boy, I can go from any Pokemon to any Pokemon that I actually have in my deck. So I can surprise my opponent with the Tauros, I can surprise him with the Salamence, with the Giratina, with the Darkrai, with a couple different options. Also 1 copy of Olympia, simply because I can switch my active Pokemon with one of my benched Pokemons and also heal 30 damage counters from it. 1 copy of Delinquent, so I can simply discard a Stadium card for play and force my opponent to discard 3 cards from his hand. Why Delinquent is so good card, especially for deck like this? It's definitely a huge decision. You would either way go with 2 copies of Pearl Cities, or you should go with 1 copy of Pearl City and Delinquent. I always prefer to go just with 1 copy of Stadium and 1 Delinquent in builds like this, because simply if I run 2 copies of Pearl Cities and my opponent go first and he have turn 1 Pearl City 3 downs to me, I simply cannot scrap that Stadium and I will have just 3 Pokemons available on the bench the rest of the game. So the reason I decided to go with 1 Pearl City and 1 Delinquent is simply because maybe in some cases against Mega Mewtwo I'm not going to be able to beat that Shroud Memories in the Stadium War, because if my opponent runs 3 of them I simply cannot counter him. That's when Delinquent makes a lot of problems and good stuff for me, problems for my opponent of course, simply because I can scrap my opponent's Stadium from play and also 3 cards on his hand. And speaking about energy cards, well, running multiple Darkness Energies, and you're probably going to ask how many of them. So I'm running 10 regular basic Darkness Energies. Let's do this, just a moment. Alright, there we go. So 10 basic Darkness Energies and 4 double Dragon Energies. So I can simply attack with Giratina, I can simply attack with my Salamence, and with my other Pokemons that actually does not need a double Dragon Energies, but actually require just a regular basic Darkness Energy. So I hope you guys enjoyed watching this video. That was my deck list that I used to play at my local league, and managed to win first place with it. So Darkrai, Giratina, with Tauros and Salamence tech. Make sure to hit the like button or dislike if you didn't enjoy watching it. Let me know what you think about this deck list. In my opinion, it's a pretty cool deck list, so you should definitely try this out and see how good really it is. So have a nice day till the next time. Make sure to subscribe to the channel for more videos. As always, see you in the next video, so goodbye.